So welcome to Discovering Creativity. We are as full of excitement as usual. Uh, so welcome, Ashlyn, and I'll let you start, and then I'll try to be as brief as possible with my answers.
Not a problem. Thank you. Okay, so for the interview questions, I just based it off of your profession as well as trying to think of different perspectives within creativity that we've learned this semester. So my first question for you is, what inspired you to pursue a career in creativity?
Well, to make a very long story short, I I lived in Singapore where,
Mhm.
for 13 years because I got married there and I found many different jobs and it's when I decided to do the Masters in Creative Studies in Buffalo, New York, that I found finally my vocation, uh, something that I really enjoyed, and I found that I excelled and I was very happy and passionate about it. So
Mhm.
it was that masters that helped me identify my skill set and
Mhm.
then start looking for opportunities to practice this and to teach this.
Okay, so my next question is, can you describe your approach to creativity and the key factors you consider?
Um, well, I don't know if I have one single approach to creativity, but I know that I'm very much question oriented. In other
Okay.
words, I'm always trying to figure out what is the real issue, how can this be framed differently, and what are the key factors here that we need to consider. And that is half of the battle for me, because I find that by default, I know I don't understand problems well enough. So I need to understand them extremely well in order to start generating some ideas, testing them. And in fact, the testing of my ideas is always uh, trying to check whether my understanding of the problem was correct. So if I'm getting the solution, if I'm getting the answer, if I'm getting the response that I was looking for, the acceptance to the solution that I've come up with, if I'm delivering the value that I intended, then I'm thinking, okay, this is happening, this is helping push things forward. Um, so that's basically it. I'm more into also sometimes details because one of my trends in thinking is how can I simplify things? In other words, what is the smallest thing that I can do, easiest thing that I can do to make a great impact? If I don't find the point of leverage, I find it's a lot of work and you never know where you're going to get anywhere.
Right. That's perfect. Let me see. Okay. My third question is, how long does it take for students to change the way they think and become creative?
Well, it depends where they come from. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that every single student is exactly at the same point of in their creative abilities.
Mhm.
So some students may have been exposed to more creative work, to more creative experiences. They have developed some cognitive abilities, basic, and also some emotional strength, because to be creative, it takes a lot of emotional strength. If I tell you if I'm with a group of 50 people and I tell them the most original idea I can come up with, I have to be ready to take the laughter that is going to create.
Yes. You
So,
have to be
so
ready to
and
hear their ideas too.
yeah, and so if I'm a highly insecure person, I'm going to suffer it because I'm going to be thinking they are laughing at me. This is hopeless, and
Mhm.
I will use it as a judgment instead of the fact that creative ideas sometimes tend to make people laugh.
Mhm.
In fact, I find in humor, uh, because humor is inherently creative, it's always a surprise. It's always like, oh, I didn't expect that, and it makes people laugh. Uh,
Mhm.
and so, so going back to your question, what was your question again?
How long does it take for students
Oh,
to
yes.
change the way they think and become creative?
Yeah, it's just because it was such a good question. I wanted to make sure that I don't. So it could take 2 or 3 semesters.
Mhm.
And the reason is because it takes a lot of effort to get students to start thinking in different ways. You need to understand that most of the classes that they attend is lecturing. A lot of people are used to a certain formula of receiving instruction, that when they come to my classroom and they are asked to do something completely different, it's very uncomfortable. And very often they will ask themselves, what is the use of doing this? Or what am I doing? Or what is this about? And all these are valid questions, and I accept them as questions that we should be grappling with and also trying to answer. So for me, one of the favorite things my students say is, I'm confused. And I'm tell them, I'm so glad you are confused. They don't expect that, in fact. But I said, well, maybe when you get some clarity out of your confusion, you will learn something. So confusion is the state of hope that I'm going to learn something. But the other thing is that changing the way we think is a bit more complicated, because it's not only about, okay, I've changed this way, but it's about metacognition. In other words, I realize I've changed this way, and then it's also about a sense of fulfillment. I'm happy that I have changed this way. So I'm happy that I can generate more ideas now. I'm happy that I was so critical about other people's ideas before, and now I'm more constructive. I start to look into what's good about their ideas. So I'm more of a team builder. And before I was a team destroyer, and I did not know about it. See, I didn't know because I didn't have the awareness. So this type of, I would say, more creative approaches to life um, add value to students in many ways. And many of them have told me, thanks to the different ways that I have to think now, I have become a better student, and I'm more motivated to study and to do what I do. So that is what I call a huge byproduct of creative thinking that helps my students get the best out of their education, which is not cheap. So if they want to get the best out of the education, I will always advise people, go and take some classes on creative thinking, because these are the tools that help you apply, understand, and create some wisdom about what you are learning. So going back to your question, it's about 3 semesters of 14 classes. So this will be about, because it's 14 weeks. So it's about 1.5 years, but the changes that I have seen are tremendous, and they last for life. In other words, students after 1 or 2 years, some of them, they email back and they say, well, I'm using what you taught me. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've definitely seen my thought process change because I had you in one of my first classes in my master's program. And so to come back and be taking your class again with new perspective and new ways of thinking, it's been a lot better this semester. I'm
Good.
not as confused. Um, but okay, so my next question is, what are the greatest challenges you have faced teaching creativity in higher education?
So the one of the greatest challenges is the attitude from sometimes from the students.
Mm,
If they have a negative attitude, to change the attitude to a positive one, it takes a lot of building what I call relational equity
mm,
or rapport. In other words, I need to connect with them heart to heart to start explaining certain things so that eventually they start changing their attitude.
mm,
Now, what happens is sometimes it's not so much that the students, they don't want to, but it's that they also have pressure from so many classes they're taking. They have pressure from because they have jobs. So
mhm,
they have so many things going on in and social life and the games or whatever. Whatever they're doing is too much, and nobody's saying anything. So I know that I have only so much. So if they come to my class tired, and I have a
mhm,
class 2.5 hours where it's all hard work, it's going to be tough for them. Now, I remember a time where sometimes people, when they take the class and it's the senior year, they have this type of checking out type of mindset. I'm out of here.
yeah.
I just don't want anything to do with this university, something like that. So I had one of those students at one point, and I was trying to tell her, So what can I do to make this a more pleasant experience for you? And I kept challenging. And then eventually she changed her mindset and she got the best out of it. It was the outstanding work. So I was thinking, I'm so glad that this change has happened, but it was always asking that question. So what is one of the challenges? Yes, that attitude. The other one would be that if someone is highly critical and highly insecure, definitely this has to be some sort of emotional growth
Yeah.
in order to be able to interact. But having said that, I have to say that because of the being this something that students decide to take, I think that is a selective process where the students that are willing to take a little bit more risk, they tend to sign up for these classes. So most of the time, I've had good experiences. Now, I have had better experiences with graduate students.
Okay.
And so that's why next year I'm having my first in-person graduate class on creative thinking.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
That'll be very beneficial. Yeah, I think one of the things that make the creative classes hard is that they are online. But with like someone like me where I work full time
Yeah.
now and I'm getting
Yeah.
my master's, I have to have the online because I can't attend classes.
I understand.
And so it's kind of just the best of a difficult situation, but that's
Yeah.
really exciting. Like question 5, how do you stay current with research that is done within creativity when developing curriculum?
So yeah, we'd always look for updated textbooks. We look into what has been published. But what happens with a lot of the creativity stuff is that people tend to go in different directions
Mhm.
to research and to look into certain small components of certain small things, which are very interesting for the researchers, but maybe not for the classroom. So,
Mm.
so when you look into the basics of creative thinking, what I find is that there's no need to complicate things for students.
Mhm.
Uh, there's going to be all the thousands of articles are always going to be there. You can go to a library online and look for them, what part of what area you are interested in. But the important thing is for to have a good education is to make sure you have the basics covered, the
Mhm.
basic skill set, the basic knowledge, and so and then you can use it because an important part of creativity is so how can I exercise this? How can I use it? And a lot of research articles are not so pragmatic in that sense.
Mhm.
Um, just wanted to give you, and sometimes even though we don't do I don't bring so much from research. I do my own, and I bring my own insights. So if you have taken 432, 432 creative problem solving, or if you
Mhm.
know anything about that framework, creative problem solving, you will have heard the word brainstorming, coming up with many ideas, brainstorm. So there's some guidelines for that. Having any brainstorming sessions for the session of divergence, many ideas,
Mhm.
and then convergence, select the best. So they came up with these guidelines. Okay, so one of them is deferring judgment. So deferring judgment is about don't criticize your ideas or the ideas of others. So if you're in a group, just come up with ideas, write them on paper, or someone document them, but don't have people talk about them. Okay,
Mhm.
it's only this idea 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 30, 40. Okay, now when it's time to select the ideas, one of the guidelines is called affirmative judgment. Look into the positive side.
Mhm.
All right. So for me, because these two things is something difficult for people sometimes to remember, what I was thinking is that it would be great to just have one guideline for everything, and it's called deferring affirmative judgment.
Mhm.
So you bring these two guidelines together. So instead of having people having to remember two things, you say,
Mhm.
okay, I'm going to start looking into the positive sides of ideas, but not now, later. Okay. So you tell them only one thing to do instead of telling them two, three, four, five things. Okay, so that is an insight that I didn't have to look for a research paper on it. It's just me thinking at night at 3 a.m. about the
Yeah.
thing. So, so, so I'm telling you, but I shared with somebody else as well, an expert I was interviewing, and
Mhm.
says that makes a lot of sense. So these things could be accepted. It's not that they're going to change the textbooks right now, but I believe, because of my experience, I believe that simplicity is going to be essential because I
Mm.
heard people, you say to defer judgment is sometimes so difficult. When people tell you ideas, the first thing that comes to your mind is, this doesn't sound that great. And it's like, oh,
I'm not sure.
yes, right. So to keep quiet at that moment is a difficult thing, but to change that behavior slowly over time is extremely productive. Now, it doesn't mean that we want to ignore the flaws, but what I tell people is just don't convey your emotions when you are talking about flaws and put it in a question form.
Mm.
So how
That's
can you
an
make that?
interesting
If I
perspective.
think it's too expensive, I will ask you, how can we make it more affordable?
Mhm.
See, so I'm always, a question is taking care of the flaw by being constructive.
Mhm. You're adding to the conversation instead
Yeah.
of taking away from it.
Mhm.
That's a great point of view. You know, sorry, I'm making little notes as
Yeah,
we
that's fine.
go. Okay. Um, question 6 is can you provide an example of a challenge you have faced within the creative field?
Yeah. Well, the challenge is right now, my challenge is to get students. Um, so my assumption was that word of mouth is king, and
Mhm.
because people get such a great experience in my classroom, everybody will flood into the classroom forever and ever. Well, it's just going in a different direction because of all the factors.
Mhm.
So challenge is in education is always going to be having an audience. Okay, so you need to have an audience, uh, but also in terms of the content is to bring new content that can be helpful to students and that is also relevant to whatever is being used or done in the market. See, so that's why I want to show you this book, which is called Experience in Design, which is about design thinking. So next year we are going to have online 489 design thinking, which is a new methodology that I'm
Ooh.
going to be promoting to all the students. And this one is going to be a stacked course, meaning that for people, there's some masters and PhD students that always run away from 400 level courses. So it's going to be a 600 level. So it's going to be 689 and 489. So
Okay.
I'm going to just have a little bit of a more challenging syllabus for the master students, the PhD
Right.
students that decide to join. But so what are challenges? Bringing new content, bringing, I was telling you before this event, this interview about prototyping.
Mhm.
So uh, building empathy with your clientele, prototyping, there are a couple of things that design thinking helps, especially in terms of doing meaningful research that can guide your ideation.
Mhm.
So I have a few examples for that, and I'm very glad that I can get to teach this again because I'm revamping the content and the assignments so that people
Mhm.
can get a much more meaningful experience.
Mhm. Awesome. New experiences. Okay. Okay. So my next question for you is, how do you measure creativity?
Well, there's some tests already there, which the Torrance, the creativity test, you may
Mhm.
have heard about it. Then there's another one that measures some preferences is the Foresight test. You
Mhm.
can see it on foresight.com. online.com. And that's very much mapped to the creative problem solving process of ideation, refining ideas, implementing ideas, and clarifying ideas to begin with. And there's some other things out there. Some of them are better researched than others. I've used Foresight for a long time, about 20 years, and it has given me some benefits. There's another Simplex by Dr. Min Basador, another instrument that he's using. In any case, I believe that so you can measure the tendency to engage in certain creative behaviors. It's like this as self. This is what you observe about your own behavior. So there is a margin, like every single test is a margin of error. So every single test is like that. So if they are, they will give you some sort of awareness of what you are good at and what you are not that great. So you can get, maybe you can improve, or you can get to accept or look for people that are good in that area. But in terms of overall creativity research, in terms of measuring creativity, has always been a big challenge because the reliability coefficients have never been as high as measuring intelligence. So they have never made it like super, super, super popular. And I believe also it is because it is something that clearly can be improved over time. And so I'm very happy that they have not been that successful or popular, because one of the wrong things about this test is that there's going to be a percentage of people that are going to take this test as that is who I am forever.
Yeah.
And
They
that's
create a
wrong.
perspective of themselves.
Yeah. So what I've noticed through training is that people can really enhance their creative power. But I think that what I've experienced as well is that it's not something only to be observed at the cognitive level, what you do with ideas, but also emotional and social as well. And the reason is because we are social beings and we are always interacting with each other. And the more we learn to interact with each other creatively, we can enhance our own creativity by, so to a certain extent, getting help from other people.
Perfect. Okay, so question 8 is, how has creativity benefited you within your profession?
Well, creativity has helped me to find a profession to begin with. So it has helped me because I was working, I had other jobs before. So as a creative being, I was always thinking about, how can I do this? How, in marketing, for instance, how can I connect with people? When I was trying to do a business in creative thinking and innovation consultant or training in Singapore, I was trying different ideas. Now, it didn't work that well. I think that me as a salesman, or me as a professor or consultant or teacher or facilitator, I have different roles and I'm better at some other things than others. The problem with running your own business, I think, is that you can get too involved in one part of the business and neglect the other. And then it can become a lot of, it can also be a lot of, it's very stressful, especially if you're not making ends meet. And so it creates an added layer of stress, anxiety that doesn't help make you enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
so so having said that, I really find that creativity has helped me discover the value I can bring to other people, and that has been extremely fulfilling. And because you see, what happens is this. I believe in something called transformational teaching. I don't think that teaching is only about conveying, transferring information. You have YouTube for that. You have YouTube. You have other videos online. You have books. So the question here is, what is the human element? Me as a professor in a classroom, what can I do differently in what ways can I engage people that
Mhm.
will create an impact? So I'm always thinking about that. And I'm always trying to do things in such a way that it cannot be replicated.
Okay.
And when I got to that point, then I said, well, when people get value from what I'm doing, then I found my niche, my place.
Okay.
So one of the things that in education we want to do, people they like to do all the time is how can we replicate what the teacher is doing so that then you can just create your own videos and you don't have to be there.
Hmm.
But I feel that the human interaction, the Socratic connection and conversation, the Socratic conversation needs to take place. And in fact, Socrates was someone who knew about this, and all the philosophers have talked about it. The importance of having meaningful conversations,
Hmm.
and as an element of learning for students. And this is not something only with the teacher and the student, but also how the teacher can engage students to have that among themselves.
Start having those conversations, not just
Yes,
with the teacher, but with the other students around them.
yes, which becomes more and more meaningful.
Mhm. Okay. So question 9 is what is the most beneficial tip you could give someone who does not believe that they are creative?
Um, the most beneficial tip is to doubt in their conviction of not being creative. If you want to go from one uh, conviction to another, it's very difficult to get people to just say accept the opposite.
Mhm.
Um, Look at children. I could tell them, look at children. Do you think they are creative? A lot of people tell me, yes, they have creative in many ways.
Mhm.
Well, children, they don't have a problem with taking risks. They
Not scared.
don't care about many things, and um, they try things because they are trying to understand. They're trying to create some sort of meaning. So they are highly creative in the way they approach reality. And so, to a certain extent, uh, we still carry that way of being. The only thing is that
Mhm.
there have been other forces, maybe social forces, that have told us you don't need to ask the question, you just need to come up with the answer. You need to accept the answer.
Mhm. Mhm.
Accept many answers, and this is what you need to know. But the fact is that the essence of one of the pillars of creativity is curiosity. And curiosity is the desire to find something out. So when you give people, uh, you tell them, okay, give me 10 questions about this. Give me now, out of the 10 questions, the ones that are most important for you. Tell me
Mhm.
why. Only do that exercise, and then they realize, oh, I really want to find this out. Well, whatever you did just now is highly creative because you have experience with your own desire to find things out. And that was only a simple questioning exercise. So you didn't do that before because you did not know that it was available for you. But I made it available to you so you can become it.
Yes.
See? But that happens with everything in life. You didn't know how to play tennis. Well, I can teach you how to play tennis. Oh,
Hmm.
but I think that I thought I couldn't do anything with tennis. No, but see, you can.
You can. Yes. If you ask the questions and you
So
try.
you can do a lot of things in life if you just willing to take the risk.
Hmm.
But in everything in life, which the problem is right now is that everyone expects you to be an expert overnight about everything, and nobody wants to recognize it's pride is like a disease, and it's like a virus. But we need to do the opposite. We need to have a virus called humility, and without humility, you cannot learn a thing. So if you want to become good at something, you have to learn that at first you will not be that good. You won't be that great. In fact, you will be horrible when you start anything that
It
requires a
won't
little
work
bit of skill. Yeah.
out.
But if you're willing to learn, eventually you'll get there.
Mhm.
Do you remember when you started driving?
Yes, I
Did, were,
do.
were you an excellent driver the first day?
I was not. It was very scary.
But you believed in yourself. You believe that okay, I can do this. I can learn. A lot of people have learned. I can do this. You
Mhm.
didn't say
And it's wanting to know, like having
yes,
the drive to be like, okay, this is something I really want and I
yeah,
need to get better at it, so I need to practice it and
yes.
having that mindset of, set of this is something I need.
Mm.
So, yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, question 10. What tools have you found are most beneficial in maintaining your sense of creativity on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so I was talking about this before, which is what else can I do with this? Uh, so this is whole thing about resourcefulness. The other question would be, where can I find help for this? Um, and another question would be that helps me be creative is how can I simplify this process? So these are in a daily basis, these are three questions that keep me going.
And those
Mhm.
questions kind of go back into how you enjoy asking questions on, and
Yeah.
that's kind of your way of being creative and finding
Yes, I mean,
answers.
yeah, there's one extra question, which is what are two or three different ways of doing this? So
Mhm.
I never write 20 ways. I may write, or I may ask myself about three different ways. And the reason is because of time. If you don't have the time to think about so many things, at least three. But
Mhm.
then being able, because they are different, then you can evaluate them better. If I have to evaluate 15 ideas, that's going to take me a long time. But
Right.
I can evaluate three quickly, and it's better than just having one. Now, the moment that I consider a different idea, that should take me outside of my paradigm.
Mhm. Okay. Well, those are all of the questions I have for you.
Well,
Um,
I think it went very well. Thank you so much for this, and I hope that it also has helped you to make some sense of some things and added some value
yes.
to you.
Thank you so much for meeting with me and making the time for this. I really do appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure, and anything you need, just let me know.
I will. Thank you, Dr. Ramos.
All right, take care. Have a
Have a
wonderful day.
good one. You
Bye-bye.
too.